listeners, wherever you are in the world. This is Sarah Barnes-Humphrey with you today. Are you ready? Let's talk supply chain. Good morning, everyone, and happy holidays. Welcome to Thoughts and Coffee. My name is Sarah Barnes-Humphrey. I'm the founder and host of Let's Talk Supply Chain, the Blended podcast, and the founder of the Blended Pledge. And this is our last show of 2024. That's right. We are taking a couple of week break. We'll be back January 7th, and Courtney from Manifest, I believe, is going to be joining me for that one. But today I've got my trade bestie, Audrey Ross, here, and we have so much to cover. I don't know if you've been watching the news and what's going on in supply chain here in Canada, in the US, but we've got a lot to cover today. So let's dig into all of that. Now, we couldn't have this show without our show sponsor, and that is the Secret Society of Supply Chain. Head over to secretsocietyofsupplychain.com because we are relaunching all of our membership groups. You're not going to want to miss out. So make sure to put your email in there and you are going to get notified once we relaunch everything within the next couple of months. There's a lot of really cool things that are going to be happening. We've got a lot of really cool things planned. So head over there. All right. So our newest episode is episode 441. It's leveraging if I could really talk today, drayage rating and quoting best practices to improve supply chain management, visibility, and logistics execution with CargoWise Landside. Now, if you don't know who CargoWise Landside is, they have been on the show multiple times. And this episode really goes into why the rating and the quoting best practices are really going to set you up for success in supply chain with visibility and logistics execution. So go and check it out wherever you listen to the podcast, or you can go and check it out on our YouTube channel. Now, we are going live every single day this week, sometimes multiple times a day. Tomorrow, live at 10 a.m. Eastern, is the one you've all been waiting for, Supply Chain Unfiltered with Christine Barnhart as your host. Her guest is Eric Wilson, and they're going to be talking about planning and execution in supply chain. Go ahead and click the attend button, and we will send you the link, even if you can't attend live, because this is going to be a good one, so you're not going to want to miss that one. Next, 11:30 tomorrow as well, I'm going live and co-hosting with MVK of Coupa on the margins. And we're going to be talking about where the margins matter. We're also going to be talking about what has happened this year. What are the challenges? What is top of mind for everybody? What's ahead for supply chains in 2025? So don't miss that. Click the attend button and we will send you the link, even if you can't attend live. On Thursday, 11 a.m. Eastern, we've got Frostbites. That's right. We've got a brand new show talking about cold chain. Now, you're not going to want to miss this because they are talking about cold chain tech, supply chain resilience, and it's a really great show. So 11 a.m. Eastern, click the attend button. We'll send you the link, even if you can't attend live. And last but not least, we've got LogTech Live with Eric Johnson, and he's talking about what drivers really think about trucking tech. Now, this is the last show, I believe, of 2024. And we've got a surprise for you coming up in 2025 because we are going to be revamping this show. Eric Johnson's still going to be hosting, but it's going to look very, very, very different. So join us on Friday. Click the attend button. We'll send you the link, even if you can't attend live. All right. I've got a brand new edition of the Monthly Hustle. This is my monthly newsletter on LinkedIn. A year of ups, downs, and breakthroughs. My 2024 wrapped. And I give you an overview of kind of everything that's been going on in 2024, plus some exciting news for 2025, because we've got a lot of great things on the horizon that I cannot wait to launch and share with you. 2025 is going to be a really, really great year. And also, if you are looking for some merch for that supply chainer in your life, we've got it for you over at the letstalksupplychain.com website. Check out the shop. We've got tote bags, we've got hoodies, all sorts of stuff. I believe Friday might be a little bit late. So you might want to go and check it out today so that you can get it delivered on time. Last but not least, in-person conferences that are coming up. Manifest February 10th through 12th in Vegas. 6,000 supply chain professionals are going to be at this conference, so you're not going to want to miss that. TPM 25, that's happening March 2nd through 5th in Long Beach. I'm going to be hosting TPM TV once again, and you're going to be able to join, I think it's about 5,000 supply chain professionals that descend on Long Beach, California. And then we've got Home Delivery World happening May 21st and 22nd in Nashville. And I'm going to be there recording podcasts on site. So if you have a booth there, we want to display that and we want to feature you on the podcast. So make sure to reach out to us. All right. That was a lot to get through. We still have way more to get through. And I want to bring Audrey Ross up to help me talk about that. Hey, Audrey, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I can't believe we're at the last show of 2024. I don't know how you feel about this year, but
Time flies. Time flies. We're having
by,
fun.
did it just go by like super fast, or was it just me, or I don't even
No,
know.
it was super fast. 2024 was super fast, but I think a lot of us maybe didn't have the best of years, so maybe that's okay. And we're looking forward to 2025.
I think you're right. I've seen a few posts and a few people talking about how they don't mind seeing the backs of 2024 and they want to go into 2025 as quickly as humanly possible.
Yeah.
So I get that. If you are one of those people, I'm sorry to hear that. I really hope that 2025 is a better year for you. But for anybody who doesn't know who you are, tell us who you are, what you do, and all that jazz.
Okay. So I'm Audrey Ross. I'm sitting here in Toronto today, which
Are
is
you?
kind of nice. Yeah, I am. I definitely am. West End girl. It's nice today. It's going to get very, very cold on the weekend, Sarah. I hope you got a jacket for like Saturday, Sunday at that high of -14 Celsius.
Ew.
Yeah.
And we're going
Um,
out Saturday.
we're
And
going
that's
out
at
Saturday
night.
night. Yeah.
That's
Mhm,
gonna be very cold.
mhm.
Okay.
Little scarf around the
Got it.
face, a
Gloves.
sleeping bag jacket, some mitts.
Oh my goodness.
Get ready to go. Yeah, so I do trade compliance, international trade, import and export. Kind of keep things moving around the world. About 22 different countries now. Um, I'm finishing up my term as the OIT president this December, so that wraps it up for me. I've done 2 years now. So we had our last event beginning of December, which is really fabulous. Thanks to Larry Lung, who's I know tunes in here quite a bit. He came out to the event and was great support for me. So looking forward, I'm going to be taking a different role as past president. So sticking on that for 2025. So yeah.
Awesome. So many things to look forward to,
I
so
know.
many things happening. I
Mhm.
just realized it, like I do this every single week, and I don't know how I missed this, but I just realized that I don't even have the poll ready to talk about. And
Uh,
I'm searching through our posts because the UX design on LinkedIn is not designed for you to find
is
anything
Yeah,
very, very quickly. All right. I
no,
think
not
I've got
helpful.
it. Here we go. All right. So let's get to the poll of the week.
I
So the
answered it.
question that we asked everybody, what's your biggest holiday season challenge in supply chain? I don't think I talked about this last week. No.
No.
Um, 30 we had almost 140 votes on this one. So people are passionate about this question. 38, is that 38? 38% of you said meeting
That was me.
deadlines. I think I need glasses. 41% of you said demand forecasting, 12% said inventory surplus, 8% said managing returns. Audrey, where did you fall in on this one?
I feel like the demand. Anytime you put demand forecasting on a poll, like there's 40% of people who are just going to hit that. And you're like, is
Or
that
it's
really your
the
biggest
first
challenge?
one.
Is it just your constant challenge? I put meeting deadlines. For us, it's a lot of launches, replenishment, pre-Chinese New Year build up at the end of the year. So, potential strike on the East Coast again. So there's a lot of stuff. So for me, it was meeting deadlines. It's a big challenge right now. And closures. There's all these closures. Everybody's closed except some people who aren't closed. So
Well, and we're going to talk about that because I don't know if people realize this as consumers. I know us supply chain professionals realize this, but it was actually a shorter holiday shopping period between
yeah,
Black Friday and, the
And
holiday
Christmas.
season and all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. And we're going to get to that in just a minute. And that has a lot to do with some of these answers, I think, right? Because with that comes timely deliveries that need to happen because there's not enough days or there's not as many days as there usually is. So a lot of things that we're going to be talking about. So I appreciate that. Now is the time to talk about our market update. And I'm going to give you the floor for a couple of minutes just to talk
Yeah.
about what people need to know. I know if you are in Canada, the Canada Post is back to work. And so that's going to be coming back online, and we're going to be getting a ton of mail potentially over the next week or two. But yeah, give us an idea of the market update. And then I've got a few fun things that I want to throw in there.
Yeah, for sure. So definitely support to our Canadian postal workers. That was a tough haul. And that's an interesting situation, and probably a good case study for further years. But glad that they're back to work, and thanks to them for all the hard work that they do put in. Yeah, I mean, what to sum up in our last episode of the year? So 2024 kind of kicked off or was led into the diversions around and avoidance of the Suez Canal due to the situation in the Red Sea, still being called the Red Sea crisis. That's ongoing, so that goes into the new year. Panama Canal got all cleared up. It was a bit of a drama earlier, but that's resolved. There was a lot, and somebody, I think maybe it was Journal of Commerce, or there were a few people, maybe Lars, who suggested that 2024 would be the year of labor disruptions, and certainly for Canadians was very true, because we saw CN and CP were on our two main rail lines. We're the only two we have. We're on a big, strike and labor talks, which got delayed. So that's all resolved. Canada Post is now back to work. We're waiting on the ILA East Coast decision that's coming early January. We have a new U.S. administration. Whenever administration changes, things change. So there's talk about tariffs. A lot of talk about that by people in trade policy as well going into the new year. Definitely the sustainable development goals and transitions there. So a lot going on, and most of it is kind of carrying into 2025.
Do I see ears?
Yes, someone insisted on being on my lap for the show today.
Thank you for coming. No, I was looking at you and I was like,
wait a second. That shirt's like a little 3D now. Like I went with the leopard print, and then now it's like, how are their ears? But yes, Monsieur here. Mr. here wanted some attention.
Well, welcome and thanks for joining us. Okay, so a couple of things that I wanted to bring up. I don't know if you guys saw this on my LinkedIn this weekend, but I was watching the news here in Toronto, and it said Toronto man crowned 2024 Microsoft Excel World Champion. First of all, how many of you knew, and please put this in the comments, knew that there was an Excel World Championship? And I don't know where it was. I want to say Vegas because everything.
It was Vegas. It was in Vegas, of course. Yeah, it was Vegas. Yeah.
And the grand prize, I think, was $5,000. But my post was quick, and he got a belt. I don't know if you can see that in the top of what he's holding.
Oh, like a wrestling belt?
Yeah, he got like a wrestling belt for winning the Microsoft Excel World Championship. But my post was quick, get this guy into supply chain. And I forgot to congratulate him. So I'm going to congratulate him live on this show to say congratulations for winning the Excel World Championship. And somebody get this guy into supply chain. So that happened over the weekend. And then what else am I looking at? Oh, I don't know if you guys have seen this, but I saw this on Instagram, and it is wine tours on a transport truck. Now, a lot of the comments were like, is this safe? I don't know if it's safe. Can you get insurance for things like that? Like all the things that we as supply chain professionals are kind of questioning. I think it's a cool idea. It looks like they have rails on the side, but apparently this is what we're using transport trucks for now, which is wine tours as well. So I don't know what you think about it. It's kind of cool.
Easier route than that cross country, right? So if you're a truck driver, it's like, ooh.
Those are some tight streets though. Like I don't know how that's gonna go.
That's true. But do I show up for like a 10 to 10 shift, or do I show up for like 4 weeks of driving?
That's true. But also, I don't know if you guys saw, but there was a winding staircase on the end of it. You could actually go onto the roof of it. And I'm like, that might take it a little bit far, but anyways, I thought that was an interesting way of using transport trucks. And first, before I go to the next one, I want to say hi to Jonathan over on my personal LinkedIn. If you guys are here, I want to hear from you. Put in the comments where you're watching, where you're tuning in from. If you have any questions, we're just having some fun today for our last show of the year, although we've got some pretty pressing things that are coming up. Yeah. So one last thing that came across my desk, and I don't usually go through the press releases, but I did for this one because this is a lawsuit that I believe was filed last week, and it's talking about accessorial charges. I have to say that right. I don't ever say that right. And the reason why I'm bringing it up is because I used to be in logistics, right? There's accessorial charges, and BAF is changing all the time, and fuel is changing all the time, and there's all these extra charges. And we used to get complaints from customers and shippers all the time. Well, now it looks like freight forwarders going after larger freight forwarders for doing it to freight forwarders. And so now they're just not happy about this. And so this is something that's going to be coming down the pipe, and you might just want to take a look at it. Maybe chime in if you're a shipper. The accessorial charges we know are a bit of a pain in the butt. I mean, Audrey, you deal with them all the time.
Yeah, and I think the excuse used is that like they're applied by, right? They're applied by the government, they're applied by someone else, they're administering them on behalf of someone else. But it really, when there's a lack of transparency because you think you've been quoted a price, and then it's, oh, but it's not inclusive of like do. And it's like watching one of those like health commercials or something. Yeah, if you take this medication, the side effects are like 1,000 things. You're like, can you just tell me what the price is, or give me a list of what the potential accessorials are going into each country? Because they might be pretty standard, right? Or they should be. And then it also becomes, depending on your Incoterm, if they're actually due to you, like were you actually the importer of record? So this should be the importer of record, or were you only the seller and they're not due to you because it's X work? So there's all sorts of little pieces to it. But it certainly lacks transparency, and yeah, it feels very unfair to
and trust
the shippers. Yeah, because you're like, oh, well, you quoted me $1,000, and then I get a bill, and somehow it's $2,000. For what?
Yeah. And how do I explain this internally? Right? Yes. Because it doesn't only make the freight forwarder look potentially bad.
Yeah.
It makes the shipper look bad, and the person within that position that needs to go back and actually explain what's happened or try to figure out why it ended up coming in a lot more than it was. So interesting situation. Go and check it out. We've got the link in the comments. Not sure what's going to happen there, but I mean, it could change the trajectory of how we're being billed by some of the larger freight forwarders in the industry. Okay, let's get to our first article. So I talked about how we were going to cover how it's a shorter holiday season, and does that matter? So this year, Cyber Monday ended up being in December, which I don't think we've seen for a very, very long time. And what that means is it's shortened our holiday season. So to be able to go and buy gifts and different things like that, or even order online and have it delivered on time before the holidays. I know for us in Canada with the Canada Post strike, that has been a little bit difficult, and we've had to manage through other ways of delivering. However, they've been also bogged down. So it's been a little bit difficult for us here in Canada for online shopping. But this particular article actually talks a lot about how consumers need to plan their holiday shopping. And what that looks like is July to October. So we usually have a peak season surcharge around July, but if people are going to start buying in July, does that actually move that peak season a little bit earlier? Like, what did you think of this article?
Yeah, I thought it's interesting because I'm sure it's always the debate. If you know that there's if your major gifting holidays are, Thanksgiving, or your major gifting holiday is Hanukkah or Christmas or, New Year's, like whatever your kind of celebration is, then it's like, well, the retailers are like, you should be shopping earlier, like you should be more organized and do this earlier. Like, I just don't think that's controllable. I think that's a nice to have, but it's not reliable, and people want to get things when they want to get them. Hence same day shipping and Prime and subscriptions and things like that. So I don't know. I think it did make it challenging this year, and I think it kind of came as a surprise to a lot of people. I don't think I acknowledged that the US Black Friday, Thanksgiving kind of piece was so much later in the year until we were kind of into 2025, and you start to look at the calendar, you're like, oh my goodness. So I think it threw off a lot of maybe it's just me and I'm disorganized, but it threw off
No.
people because of the planning, right? Because it's it really does kind of, that extra week does interfere. And especially if you're that small shipper, and especially if are having these challenges with capacity already. I mean, we're seeing capacity issues generally, not just at peak season. So it's how are the courier companies coping with that? And then to throw
Mhm.
in, up in Canada, where you throw in this kind of postal issue, it certainly has made for a tough season for a lot of people. So these disruption is disruptive. It makes it hard.
And it's like disruption after disruption. I
Yeah,
was
yeah,
talking to
it's
somebody
hit after hit, Sarah. I'm like ready for a break.
I was talking to somebody the other day because I'm working on this project, and I think it was a question from Reddit, and they were like,
Mm,
what's the biggest supply chain problem in supply chain? And I
yeah,
looked at them and I was like, what day? Like what day, what time,
yeah.
what
What
route?
type of product do you do? Who are your
What
vendor?
are we
Where
talking
are
about
they?
here?
Yeah,
What
yeah,
matters the most to you? Because
yeah,
then we can talk about that particular challenge in
yeah.
supply chain. But anyways, last but not least on this particular article, they said less days obviously affects timely delivery, but
Mhm.
improving inventorying and enhancing logistics is something that needed to happen to be able to help with this shortened holiday season for supply chain
Mhm.
professionals. All right,
Mhm.
let's get to our second article. So future proof your logistics career, the impact of oh my goodness, I cannot talk today. La, la, la. Good thing I am
Generative.
having a 2-week break. The impact of generative AI on transport jobs. Now, you brought this one to my attention, which I love, and I appreciate you so much for sending me
Mhm.
different articles because a lot of people are thinking about their career and what that means in supply chain and logistics. We're also hearing a lot about generative AI, and there's good things, there's bad things. There's a few concerns and challenges. What did you think of this particular article? I know I've got a few things to say, but I want to hear what you have to say first.
Yeah, I mean, I think I brought it up because it's important. I think we keep hearing, obviously, AI, its variety of forms, is the new technology. It's the new smartphone. It's the new internet. So we're gonna have to enfold it into our daily lives. And what does that mean from, focusing on upskilling and a career perspective? Like what,
Yeah.
you kind of hear this like, wow, robots are gonna replace our job. And I'm like, you know what? I can't get Google to like accurately send a text message while I'm driving. So I feel fairly comfortable at this point. Um, but I think it's key to understand like what's a potential new training or upskill that you want to identify. And this kind of goes into a few ways, to look at that. But also it lists, it goes through almost every single job in supply chain
Mhm.
could, it's twofold. It's like could see challenges from AI and also could see benefits. Like most of us don't want to be doing everything in Excel, copying and pasting, like some of that kind of stuff that we're, that legacy stuff that we're still doing because we've always done it that way. Like AI
Mhm.
is going to change that game and very quickly, like very quickly. And I think the only thing I'm have more of a concern over is the sometimes the frivolity of it because it does have an environmental impact that I think is very hidden. But
Okay.
there's a huge environmental impact to AI. It takes a ton of servers and server space and electricity, and so it's understanding how companies who were you know coping with that, right, and dealing with that aspect of like we're already sort of in a changing climate experience, and is this just going to continue to negatively impact
Mm.
potential, right, for
Yeah.
a solve. And then two is the ethics of it, right? Like there's a lot, it's maybe especially as a woman, there's a lot of things around deep fakes and stealing identities, a lot of kind of sort of seedy kind of unfortunate side effects as well
Yeah.
of AI. So my mindset as well, making sure that the regulation is coming in quickly to match those ethical concerns. So, and Rose Gently, I
Yeah.
bumped into her at an event a couple of weeks ago, and that's kind of her whole jam right now is kind of ethical AI. So it was an
Mm.
interesting conversation with her.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to talk about more
Yeah.
around the ethics and the regulations about it in 2025 as it comes up. Some of the concerns that they're talking about in Gen AI, the capital investment. I mean, there's a large investment and capital investment when you're thinking about bringing in Gen AI, privacy and data. So you talked about ethics and
Mhm.
regulatory There's privacy and data concerns. And then obviously the workplace culture and view of AI. But this particular article also talks about how it's going to replace some of the redundant low level positions. However, they're saying that it's also going to bring in a bunch of jobs that we can't even foresee at this
Yeah.
particular time, or maybe
Yeah.
some have, we just haven't talked about it yet. But some of
Mhm.
the upskilling opportunities is AI literacy and a deep understanding of the technology impact. So if you're looking
Mhm.
to upskill, those are some of the things that you might want to focus on to position yourself. But
Yeah.
what they said was that humans that use AI will replace the humans that don't.
Ooh, okay.
So if we
True.
think about that, don't necessarily think about it as your job is going to be replaced.
Mm.
If you don't understand the technology and you don't understand how to best utilize AI and the impact,
Mhm.
then you could also be replaced. So upskilling is super important and something that we want to encourage everybody to look into
Mm.
and take advantage of going into 2025. All right.
Cool.
Last article, we are talking about tariffs. I don't know if we can go, we can have our last episode. I mean, really, at the end of the day, we don't know what's going to happen, right?
Yeah.
There has been a few things that have been thrown around 25% for Canada and Mexico, plus 10% for China, 100% for BRICS. What is BRICS? Because I can't remember.
Uh, Brazil,
Brazil?
Russia, Indonesia, China,
Okay.
and
We'd have to look it up. It's
South
okay.
Africa.
Everybody looks it up. But they're saying 100% if they decide not to trade in US dollars, which is very interesting as well. But what we want to focus
Everybody
on,
trades in US dollars. What I ask.
so what I want to focus on is what Dix is talking about around tariffs. So they've insulated themselves from the initial one that happened in 2018, I believe. And they've
Yeah.
moved a lot of their manufacturing from China. They're not much in Mexico and Canada. So I'd be interested to find out where they are manufacturing, maybe Europe. But
India, Cambodia.
one of the tactics that they talked about using to mitigate the tariffs is to negotiate with suppliers. So procurement professionals,
Mm.
dust out those negotiation skills, because it looks like you're going to go back to the bargaining table with your suppliers to help limit potentially some of the impacts of the tariffs. We've talked about how prices are going to go up for consumers, but in supply chain, if we're renegotiating with suppliers, but at the end of the day, we still want there to be a partnership and we can't lean on them too hard. And so it's going to have to be a push pull, I think. What did you think about this?
Yeah, I think it gives a good outline of how it's kind of the look back, right? How did we cope with this in 2018? Because all of us, if you were doing business in the US, you had to come up with some sort of process and plan and strategy for what you were going to do. And so I think a lot of us are kind of looking back to like, I've been looking back at like, well, how did I cope with these lists when they first
Right.
came in? How did we address this with Incoterm changes? So instead of, we did a lot of kind of Incoterm shifting with our customers, suggesting that, like you could do FOB and pick it up yourself. And then because there was a transparency aspect too. Like there was a lot of kind of disbelief, like, well, I don't think it's 25%. I think you're just adding to your price. And we're like, nope. And let's show you how we're not doing that. And then if that's the case, then why don't you just come and pick it up and you can kind of cope with that at customs yourself. So there's definitely a few tactics and things like that, but until they're published, you really don't know how you're going to cope with them or what the cost impact is going to be. But
Well, and
it's tough.
also, I think be very nice to customs brokers, because I
Oh yeah.
remember in 2018, I was talking to somebody who owned a customs broker in Canada, and
Yeah.
they worked all weekend
Yeah. Oh yeah.
because they
Yeah.
had to revise all sorts of stuff within their
The
technology
announcements come at
platforms.
night. Like they didn't follow. The other thing with this administration is they don't follow the usual practice of like there's a lead up and an announcement and like a study on the study and then it gets presented. Like it was like 7 o'clock at night and like somebody would post it on a social media site. Oh, we're changing the tariffs to this.
Right.
And you're like, what
How do
are
I do
you?
that by 7
Like,
o'clock in the morning?
how do I get a list for that? And where's the US Trade Department? Where's customs? What's the list? What's the, and then like the next day it might come out. You've got but like by then you're going through all the codes and so it was disruptive and it like from a worker point of view as well, because I would have to update, as soon as it comes out on socials and it's on the news, and it's like, well, I have to be able to update senior management instantly.
Yeah.
Right. So yeah, it does make a lot more work for some of us. So yeah, definitely
Mm.
buy us coffee and
Crazy times going into 2025. I do not think that the disruptions are over. I think they are going to obviously keep going.
yeah.
Davin came up
Oh,
with
thanks,
the
Davin.
bricks. Thank you, Davin. Really
Yeah.
appreciate it. And it was great to see you and Peter
Mhm.
back in the comments for this
Yeah.
show. I want to just really say happy holidays to everybody in our audience, not only today and whoever's watching this a little bit later. Thank you so much for all of your viewership, your support, and everything in 2024. We've got an exciting 2025 coming our way for Let's Talk Supply Chain. So stay tuned for that. But I want to wish all of you a very happy holiday and an amazing, hopefully, 2025 and new year. But keep on top of the disruptions because those are going to continue to happen. So work on your, I don't know, breathing over the holidays.
Meditative breathing. Just relax.
Audrey, thank you so much for all your support and thank you for joining us for the show today. And
Thank
I'm
you.
seeing you on Saturday and a few times over the next couple of weeks. So I'm excited.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Thanks, everyone.